Hello, everyone. I'm Shuyi Zhai. It is an honor for me to share our research. My topic is the development of commitment, attention for intention. Imagine a child building a block castle. She placed a red cube on the ground at the castle base. She then noticed a flower stick and decided she will later affix it to the castle sphere. As she continues building, she noticed an alternative decoration that could be used. However, she ignored it and continued with her current plan. In this sense, even when many steps are missing between base and spire construction, the goal determines the spire decoration. Execution of this plan requires an intentional commitment that she will adhere to a course of action leading to the predetermined future plan and resist destruction of conflicting design along the way. This nature of committing to a future step with undetermined proceeding steps is termed partial planning and is critical in human planning and problem solving. In traditional philosophy of action, intention is reduced to a complex of beliefs and designs. Any conflicts during planning can be resolved by taking the expected utilities of many desired futures. However, recently, philosophers argue that intention is an irreducible mental state. In many situations, like facing conflicting desires, humans act with distinctive commitment to an intention, to one fixed future. The committed nature of human being has been reviewed in one of our recent studies on adults. When planning facing conflicting desires, like the famous Freudian as facing two equally desirable heads, adults in a similar 2D navigation task demonstrated several behavior signature of intentional commitment. Set by their action toward one fixed goal instead of acting just as followed the expected utilities. Here, we focus on the temporary signature of commitment, that is, human committed to a distant future before fulfilling the proximal one. This is the task we use in adults. It is a Pac-Man-like task. Participants continuously pursue goals which constantly appear and disappear. Tasks begin with a blue dot that represents the agent and two red dots that represent the possible targets. The agent could then move grid square by grid square to reach a destination. Once the agent reached a dot, the dot disappeared. The other dot remained. Now it became a new old dot, and a new dot appeared in new location. Now it became a new trial. The agent could choose to pursue the new dot or pursue the old dot. Participants were told to reach as many dots as possible during this continuous game. If humans form a partial plan, they will commit to the next goal even before achieving the immediate one. In other words, they would be more likely to pursue the old dot. In this trial, the two dots are at equal distance from the agent. Further, humans may pursue an already committed goal even when it became suboptimal pursuit. Thus, we manipulate the distance difference from the agent to the new dot and the old dot, range from -5 to 5. In this one, the new dot is closer, and in this one, the old dot is closer. We calculate the commitment ratio by the ratio of trial human pursue here, the old dot. Here are the results. The x-axis represents the distance difference. The y-axis represents the commitment ratio. This line indicates the trust level 15% in equal distance condition. The commitment ratio is significantly higher than trust level. Besides, across all conditions, the intercept of commitment ratio is significantly higher than 0. Thus, human adults demonstrate an intentional commitment. Here comes the question, what is the developmental timeline of intentional commitment? There can be two hypotheses. First, early development hypothesis. 5 to 7 months old infants respond selectively to other intentional action in looking time experiment. Thus, commitment as an intrinsic property of intention may develop together with understanding of intention. Alternatively, late development hypothesis. Commitment may develop with maturity of executive control as it requires to focus on a planned course of action and prevent interference from alternative paths forward. Thus, the present study aims to explore the development of intentional commitment. First, we explore the presence of intentional commitment among 5-year-old and 6-year-old children, using the Pac-Man-like paradigm we introduced before. Second, we also wanted to explore the possible cognitive capacity it depends on. In the experiment 1, 25 5-year-old children and 25 6-year-old children from 2 kindergartens in China participated in our study. Additionally, we compared children's data with the results from adults using the same task in our previous study. Now, I'd like to show you 2 demos. It is the demos of a 6-year-old child. Yeah, 6-year-old child prefers the old one, right? Now, it is the demo for 5-year-old. Five-year-old prefer the new one. Okay, let me show you the results. Yeah, the results. We calculated the commitment ratio across all distance conditions and in the equal distance. These results are from adults. It is 5-year-old children's results. 5-year-olds show an opposing pattern from adults. Their commitment ratio is significantly lower than 50%, indicating a bias to reach new dots. However, 6-year-olds had a commitment ratio that is significantly higher than 50%, and it did not differ from adults. Furthermore, we modeled the commitment ratio as a function of distance difference with logistic regression. The x-axis represents the distance difference. The y-axis represents the commitment ratio. This is trans level, adults, 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds. This is a regression. For adults and 6-year-olds, the intercept was significantly higher than 0, indicating biases towards old dots. For 5-year-olds, the intercept was significantly lower than 0, indicating a biases toward new dots. These results showed that intentional commitment rapidly increased between 5 to 6-year-olds, and 6-year-olds commitment reached adult level. It should be noted that 6-year-olds present intentional commitment spontaneously, as our task did not require them to stick to the existing goal. These results supporting the late development hypothesis. Okay, now we would like to explore the underlying cognitive capacity of intentional commitment. In particular, we investigated one candidate, attentional control. Attentional control is an important executive control in developmental psychology. Previous developmental research has shown that children began to transition from heavy reliance on reactive control to a more proactive strategy around 6-year-olds. The emergence of intentional commitment may be linked to the development of attentional control. Thus, in experimental 2, we tested this hypothesis by measuring attentional control in the same group of children. We expected that children's commitment ratio is positively correlated with their use of proactive control. The dual mechanism of control theory suggests the two types of attentional control, proactive control and reactive control. The proactive control is a planful control, maintains the early selected information and actively biases attention in a goal-driving manner. Reactive control is an as-needed control reacting to events only as they occur. Here is an example. Imagine a mom asking her child to take the milk. If the child used proactive control, he actively kept the milk and anticipated looking for it. In contrast, if the child used reactive control, he would retrieve what he needed until he was casually faced with drink. As proactive control concerns goal-relevant information and prevent distraction, we suggest that this process may be supported the intentional commitment. Children's attentional control can be measured by child version of AX continuous performance task. This is a child example. Children were instructed to make a target response to probe cat if it followed cue dog, and make a non-target response for all other cue probe sequences. Children who use proactive control make an anticipation when they see the cue. If they see the cue dog, they would prepare to detect the probe. It leads to high hit. If they see the cue duck, they prepared for a non-target response regardless of the probe. It leads to low false alarm. Children who use reactive control did not make any anticipation. Only when they see the cat, they retrieved, did I see the dog? This leads to low hit, also high false alarm. Following convention, we calculate discrimination in terms of signal detection theory, which reflects children's sensitivity to a cue and is the use of proactive versus reactive control. Higher discrimination indicates increased use of proactive control, and lower discrimination indicates increased use of reactive control. Results show that discrimination was significantly correlated with commitment ratio in the average distance difference conditions of experiment 1. For the commitment in equal distance, we found similar results. Even after controlling for age, this correlation was still significant. The most likely explanation is that the presence of intentional commitment relies on the development of proactive control. In a visual environment, persistence in pursuing a goal depends on the capacity to focus attention on this goal. It requires humans to resist distractions. Thus, children who can use proactive control can actively maintain their attention to a committed goal. However, children who rely on reactive control are easily distracted by the onset of a new goal. Now, come back to our question about when the intentional commitment develops. Is the default component of intention or late developed with maturity of executive control? Our results support the late development hypothesis. We demonstrated that commitment is not a free process, effortlessly maintained with the emergence of intention, but rather commitment demands effort for proactive control of attention. Interestingly, once a child matures enough to proactively control their attention, this commitment arises spontaneously with intention. To sum up, here are the main findings of our studies. First, the transition in intentional commitment to partial plans is between 5 and 6 years old. As we found that 6-year-olds but not 5-year-olds match the adult pattern of intentional commitment to partial plans. Second, the presence of intentional commitment is positively correlated with the use of proactive control. Thus, we suggested that intentional commitment to partial plan does not emerge with intention understanding at infancy, but matures gradually with the development of proactive attentional control. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you for the very interesting talk. We have like 2 minutes for questions. Any questions? So anyone who
we
wants
have a
to ask
question in person,
online?
if you'd like to just come up to the microphone. Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks. This is a really interesting study. It's sort of surprising that younger children than 5 cannot make a commitment to like doing something that somebody asks them to do. If a parent says, can you go and get your shoes? And if they're really unable to just follow that plan without any distraction in the meantime, you would imagine that they would never be able to basically do anything that they're asked to do. So I'm wondering, just from the study, the children, they get distracted by a very similar goal. So they're asked to, find the last red ball, and they get distracted by very, very similar alternative goals. And I'm wondering if an ambiguity in the study design, the first study now with following the red balls, the red dots on the screen, if an ambiguity is whether the children are unable to follow through on the commitment, or whether they're unable to avoid being confused by a very similar goal that pops up almost at the same time. So if the children are seeing the new dots when they appear and they think, I'm not now sure if this is the one you're asking me to find or the older one. So as opposed to being unable to fulfill what they've said they were going to do or what they were asked to do, perhaps they are unable to distinguish between the dot that they were ultimately asked to find and the dots that are starting to appear in the meantime. In other words, the message is slightly confusing for them, maybe due to, I don't know, executive control, executive function issues. So what do you think? I mean, just generally, it seems surprising that children will be unable to follow through on what they said they're going to do before 5 years of age, or it would be amazing that they could even do something like finding their shoes when asked.
Okay, that's a really interesting question. Thank you. I would like to show you these results again. I hope you can see that actually children's behavior is really rational. Yeah, when the new dots are really close, both the children and the adults would like to pursue the new goal. Yeah, if the old dot is really close, they prefer to pursue this goal. Yeah, but we want to see that when that goal is in the equal distance, like they don't, but as a 5-year-old, they prefer the new one, and the 6-year-old and adults prefers old one. Yeah. In this task, we did not require them to pursue an existing goal or pursue the new one, just a spontaneous process. Yeah. I think if we asked the 5-year-old children to pursue the existing one, they will do it. Yeah, but they would be distracted if they don't have the explicit commitment. Yeah, it is a really implicit commitment.
Okay, thanks.
We probably don't have time for questions.
Yeah, I think we're time for the next speaker.
Okay.
But let's give another round of applause for Dr. Shuyi Zhai.